Okay, we're going to get started here. Welcome. It is just about that time to get started, so I'm going to go ahead and begin the recording here. Hopefully everybody can hear me. Welcome to week 3 live session. This is really live session 2 because you are to actually watch the first one in the readings and notes section of the live session area first before listening to this recording. So welcome to week 3. You guys are at the midpoint of the mod. So it's kind of like the halfway midterm part of the course. Hopefully you guys are doing are more comfortable working with typography within all of your within InDesign. It's just kind of knowing how to navigate InDesign and knowing the adjustments to make through character and paragraph style sheets. A lot of you guys, I did grade work last night, and I was pretty happy with the results that I saw for your assignment 2, which was your you chose the different fonts from the type kit, different categories, and provided information, but not only provided substantial information about each of those categories of fonts that you chose, but you also laid it out in InDesign using paragraph and character style sheets. So I want to say a lot of you guys did a great job with that as far as, paying attention to the principles of design, paying attention to alignment, proximity, all that good stuff. So great job. If, obviously, if you have any questions with the feedback that I had given you yesterday, let me know. Just pushing you forward, suggestions being made. So definitely read my comments and look at the rubrics as well. Okay, I'm still kind of getting over my cold, so I apologize for the occasional cough. This is one of those colds that never go away, I guess. It's springtime and snowing in Pittsburgh, so, it's just, we got to get through this last part of the crazy weather here, and I think that has to do with something with everybody being sick. I know it's definitely going around, so kind of bear with me here and be patient with me. All right, so with this week, for this live lecture, we're going to go over your week 3, just kind of talk about what we're going to be doing. We're going to go over your discussion 3, see if you have any questions with that, and then also going into your assignment 3 and your assessment 3 as well. I do want to make a note that I did open up your assessment 2 quiz for an extra 2 days, so that'll be closing tomorrow. So I had somebody request it to be open, and I thought I'd give you guys a few extra days till tomorrow to take the quiz. So if you have not taken it, go ahead and go in there and take it. It will be closed midnight tomorrow. Excuse me. So just a little note there, give you guys some reprieve here. It's April Fool's Day, and I'm not fooling, so you guys have an extra 2 days to take that quiz. All right, so late submissions for week 2, if you didn't submit it, get that in as soon as possible for possible full credit. It's not too late. Everything, all of your projects count. If you maybe submitted something that needed a lot of revisions and you got a very low grade, I would be open to revising or looking at your resubmission if you needed to do that as well. Week 1 assignments are now closed. I won't be grading those. Always know that after it's a week late, it's not accepted. Contact me to make it up if you're in a situation where you really fell behind. But obviously, if I haven't heard from you as of yet, it's already week 3. Obviously, there's some issues going on. So, all right. So week 3 overview, setting type. We're going to be talking about that primarily this week. So we're going to take a look at the classroom, week 3 media, lecture 2. And we are also, welcome Maxine, we're also going to go into your discussion 3 and also your assignment 3, which I think you guys will really enjoy. It's invitation design, that you guys will be creating a wedding invitation. and then we will go over your assessment 3 for this week. All right, so let's go ahead and look at good morning. Let's go ahead and look at your classroom here. Just peruse through what needs to be reviewed here. Just some learning objectives of this week. So you guys will be critiquing the use of type techniques and design principles to organize text and create hierarchy and recommend solutions. Super important, because as designers, we are the ones that organize this information in a way that is easy to read, hopefully easy to follow, and because one way to do that, or many ways to do that, is through hierarchy and proximity and all the design principles that we, that's the foundation of what we do. So that's kind of why we go over that all the time. Combine 2 typefaces to achieve contrast and create hierarchy in text. We'll be doing that with your assignment 3, which is your wedding invitation. Utilize 5 typographical techniques to create hierarchy. Evaluate how size, leading, and tracking affects the readability of text. So point size, leading is the space in between your sentences of type, so body copy, and tracking is the spacing in between your letters. Apply punctuation and special characters correctly and aesthetically. So we will be basically looking at how to set type. Go ahead and look at that little 1-minute video when you get a chance. But that's basically what we're going to be doing this week. Don't forget to, very important, before you even listen to this recording, or if you haven't yet, go back and listen to, in your readings and videos, the first recording for week 3. So go ahead and scroll all the way down. And you should be watching this required pre-recording of week 3's first lecture here first. If not, obviously go back and listen to it. And then you have some really great resources in here, including Type Primer, to use and utilize for your projects, and obviously for your knowledge going forward. Just some great information here. Download the PDF. Go ahead and save it to your computer so you have that as a resource. And I'm just going to open this up. This actually was given to us when I was going through graduate school too, so it's very familiar to me as well. But it is 20 pages, and I think I went over this the last time when we met up too. It's just a great resource. Obviously you're not going to go through and read page for page, but if you were to want to look up a specific, either how to do something with your type, like spacing and leading, or if you don't know what leading means, it kind of explains it here. And then also shows examples and kind of the right way to do it based on the ease of readability. And that's basically what it is, just ease of readability. Then at the very back here, there are a glossary of typographic terms. So if there's something that you're unfamiliar with, say maybe a word that describes, part of the letter form that you're not familiar with, or if I'm giving you feedback and you don't know the word that I'm referring to, say like kerning, for example, you can go in here and look up what that means if you're unfamiliar with that. It's just a nice resource to utilize. Okay, and like I said, I had that in graduate school given to us as well, so that's a great resource. Lynda.com playlist, again, just a nice resource, supplemental resources here for you as well. And this kind of tells you how to do certain things. So if you're unfamiliar with kerning and tracking, goes through that. So if you're, obviously we'll be talking about this in the demo as well, but if that's something that you want to, take a look at in here as well, you definitely can. But it just kind of talks about all the content covered, specialized uses, creating hierarchy. This is definitely an important section here. A lot of you guys, I notice a lot of students have problems with that. So that's definitely something you might want to check out. Also grid structures, that's a great section to look at as well. Grid structures are usually a little bit of a challenge for beginning, design students as well. So definitely check that out. Then you have your optional information here text hierarchy, graphic design foundations, legibility and readability, extra information here that you can take a look at. All right, any questions about that? Pretty upfront there. Okay, I take that as no questions. All right, let's take a look at your discussion 3. We're going to be finding design solutions through research and critiques. And then let me know if you have any questions. I'll kind of read through this. And, if anything comes into mind that you have questions about, let me know. All right, so basically this kind of is a nice start to your assignment 3 because, it's kind of like easing into it. What you guys will be doing is designing a wedding invitation. So this basically talks about personal invitations, the traditional formats, print and web. So it's really interesting to read through this background information. I'm not going to read it word for word, but just it talks about the type techniques and design principles to be aware of as you're going through to design your invites here. Let me zoom out. And then also it has a really nice visual example here. Really great for us people, us visual designer people, because we like to see, we like to visually see something as an example as well. I think it's just easier to comprehend. So it's talking about here just how hierarchy, contrast, it's showing you how you can do that through a layout. Talks about, center alignment, asymmetrical, and actually shows it being asymmetrical, your body copy, proximity. So that's kind of a nice example to look at. And then it goes into critiquing, your peers, which is really super important because it's basically what you guys make the discussions, how much you learn, take from it and give in terms of feedback. It's what you gain the most out of it when you're participating sooner and more substantially to it, and other people are gaining from that too. So you kind of make it what it is. If there's not a lot of people responding, not a lot of people participating, you're not probably going to gain as much as you can from it. So you make it what it is. So when you're critiquing your peers, always think about offering very not subjective, but objective. So when I say that, subjective is kind of like something that you think is nice. So, for instance, you wouldn't say, I really like this color pink because it's my favorite color. You wouldn't, obviously say that because it's very subjective. That's kind of what you like. So be more objective about it. Say, I think that color pink works for this brand because, and then back it up with your more factual information. So this will help the student, even if it's something positive and maybe something not so positive, will help the student kind of see things in a different perspective. Maybe something that they never even looked at before that you caught. I know sometimes when I'm on the computer and I'm so focused on something, I walk away and somebody else looks at it and they see something that it was so obvious that it was just sitting right there in front of me. I never noticed it before. So, other people collaborating, giving feedback is really important. So make sure you're providing some very good, substantial, objective feedback to your fellow peers. Okay, so I'm going to go through the prompt here and let me know if you have any questions. For our discussion this week, you're going to imagine that you are asked by a couple to design an invitation for their wedding. The invitation should be text-oriented and not feature a photo. First, you would want to do some research and check out some designs to find a few examples to guide you. You're going to evaluate and critique the designs and explain what you think works well and if there are any changes you'd make. There's a little note here. You will not be designing an invitation for this discussion, just finding and evaluating examples of work you find online. So in your post, be sure to cover the following. Besides the obvious of needing to know the names, date, and place for the event, what questions would you ask to guide your design and research? List at least 2 questions. Can you think of any questions that you would ask? Think about, asking the client what style that they would like, maybe colors. Some of those very simple questions can be very helpful. All right, now list what you would imagine the answers to those questions would be. So you're kind of you're going to act almost as if you are the client as well. So you're the designer and the client. You can make up your own answers for this. And then you're going to post 2 different examples of invitations that would be a suitable inspiration for your design. See instructions on how to embed your images below so we can all see it within your post immediately. Evaluate what part of the design works and why, and any part that would not. So, obviously you might see things on that example that you really like. Maybe the typeface is something that you like the style of and would really align well with, the style of the wedding, but maybe the color isn't quite what you were thinking. So you would kind of point that out. And then kind of explain it. Incorporate ideas that you have as to what you may add or change to have the design better suit your client's needs and event. The ideas could include different font choices, emphasis, the arrangement of text and colors, for example. You are not to design an invitation at this point, only find examples online to evaluate. So this is kind of like the beginning of your design process. You're kind of researching and gathering that information. And then as you move forward into your assignment 3, that's part of your brainstorming and your mock-up stage. Okay, so for your citation, you might use articles that show examples of different types of wedding invitations. You can also find articles from experts that show current trends in invitation design. Don't forget that your initial and reply post should work to develop a group understanding of this topic. Challenge each other, build on each other, always be respectful, but discuss this and figure it out together. This is if you need to know how to embed your image. Here's some links, helpful links. And then also don't forget to make sure that you're hitting upon the reply requirements as well as your initial post requirements. There's benchmark examples down here that really are helpful. So go ahead and take a look at these. I'm going to open this up and show you guys here real quick. Here's benchmark number 1. So this is what an A student example would look like for this particular discussion 3. Obviously this is in, a Word or a PDF, but this would be, think of it as in your post. So they have example 1 and 2, and then it goes into explaining, what the style is and all the points that were asked within the prompt. Okay, here's example number 2. I think this is going to be a fun project because I think invitation design is definitely can be very creative and fun. It's simple, and the typography can really stand out on its own. You can really have a lot of fun with this. All right. Any questions about the discussion? That's kind of getting your research started, getting you start thinking about certain things. Some things to think about too. Pinterest. Oh, 1 second. Great. Oh, hi, Christina. I didn't see you moved in here. Welcome. Hello. So Pinterest is like I've always kind of pointed Pinterest out. Wedding invitations you could take a look at here on Pinterest is a great resource. Obviously there's so many other resources out there too, but this kind of is a nice start to kind of looking at examples and inspiration, especially for your assignment 3, because you guys will be designing a monogram invitation. So I just posted in here, or wrote in here, wedding invitations monogram as my search words, and there's some really lovely examples in here. So it's very different yet unique examples that you guys can pull from. And what's nice about Pinterest is if you create your own profile, you can actually create a board, and the board is kind of like its own little container, I guess, kind of like an envelope that you put all your ideas in, but it's on here online. And you can name it our classroom name, so DES113 ideas. And you can kind of pin, the ones that you like by just clicking save and then add it to that board. And then you can always go back and just take a look at that board, that single board later, going forward. So there's some really cool and very inspirational, trendy invites to take a look at. You can even look up trendy invites. What's the trends for 2019 for wedding invites? Just do like a Google search for that. I'm sure you can find some really great information. I can also post some of that in announcements as we go forward here for you guys. All right, so this is the research part of it. And I think you guys will have, like I said, a lot of fun with this. What you might want to do too before starting is take a look at your assignment 3, which we'll be going over here in a minute, so that you can maybe hone in on a specific style that you want to look at first before starting the discussion. That way you can kind of hone in on something that you like, that you're going to do for your assignment 3, so that you're on the same kind of path. So say you want to do more of a beachy type of a theme, like a wedding theme, there is one in there that you can do in assignment 3. So you might want to kind of look at all the different scenarios in assignment 3 before going forward with your discussion. All right, give me 1 second, guys. Sorry about that. Still blowing my nose, still coughing. This cold is never going away. All right, I didn't want you guys to hear me blowing my nose, so I mute my mic there. So no questions about that. We're all good with your discussion, correct? Pretty easy. All right, no questions. Let's go ahead and look at your assignment 3 so we can get started here. Just a lot of information to cover today. All right, so let's go ahead and share that. And again, this is the wedding invitation. I'm going to read through this just because I think all this information is pretty important here, so kind of bear with me here. So event invitations are a common one-time design deal, and therefore a typical freelance project that you can get connected with through family and friends. If you do a good job and make your client happy, it can lead to more work through word of mouth. Some designers specialize in creating wedding and party invitations and create custom work for clients through online design services or collaborative sites like Etsy. What's kind of funny about this is and I'm a little guilty of this, I love Etsy. Did you guys ever go on this site before? It's kind of like a site that people can sell handmade either invites or clothing, party decor. Yeah, it's awesome. So I love Etsy. I've always shopped on Etsy. And what's so funny is I'm a graphic designer, and I actually ordered invitations on here recently for my daughter's 5th birthday party. 5th birthday party. Yeah, she's gonna be 5. So I'm kind of guilty of that, of like, okay, I'm going the lazy way of not doing it myself. So I got her line invites. I'm going to show you guys what they look like. Let's see which ones I got. So you can actually go on here and customize. You don't have to do any of the design work. You just go on here and choose the invite that you want. But what's nice about this is you can go on here and take a look at wedding invites too. I'm actually just showing you line invites because I was hoping hers would pop up here. It looks like it's not. Let's see, ones I got her look more adult-like because she's going to be 5. I didn't want the the Lion King or the baby ones. Let me see if I can find it real quick here. If I don't find it, I think I have it on my desktop. It's pretty cool though. Yeah, I'm gonna probably have to find it on my desktop here. Hold on one second. But what you can do on Etsy too, you can go ahead and do a search for wedding invites. You know, just to kind of get an idea of what trends are out there, what other people are doing. And let me see if I can actually pull up her invite here. There it is. This is the one that I ended up doing for her. I just had these printed, but what you do is you just customize the name here. So I just thought that was cool to show you guys. So I did that on Etsy. But go ahead and, you know, take a look at Etsy if you haven't. You know, most of you probably have heard of it, hopefully. But you definitely look up wedding invitations on there as well, just to kind of see what themes are out there. So wedding invites, and you can even put monogram. You guys are going to be doing monograms. Hopefully you know what monograms are. But here you go. There's some really cool different style monograms, invites for weddings. And if you want to kind of see it close up, just go ahead and click on it. You can kind of see a nice, what's nice about this, you can see how people laid out certain, you know, emphasize certain sections of the copy, how they laid out the date and time, and some really cool things to take a look at. Excuse me. All right. So here's the background information, techniques to create hierarchy in text. Very important. This is where I'm going to be super strict when I evaluate your work, because I think this is important when we're dealing with just typography, obviously. So an invitation, like an advertisement or a public announcement, is a call to action to a purchase or participation of some sort. Oh, am I not sharing? Hold on one second. Flowers or leaves. I would probably, let me go through the instructions here, and we'll talk about this. So when designing this type of work, you're dealing with several pieces of information that are separate from each other and may not need to flow in sequence like a paragraph of text. Some of the information will have more importance and need to catch the audience's eye more than other information. To help organize and guide a reader through this type of information, you need to create visual hierarchy, an order of importance in the text. You want them to clearly see what you deem to be most important first, and in order of less importance from there. There are several different techniques you can use to create this hierarchy, such as contrast in text size, font families, and/or style, different alignments, creating specific line breaks to separate content, grouping the lines by using spacing or leading, and adding color. Size, contrast, and color will help define to the reader the order of importance in the text. Grouping different bits of information together, such as dates or an address, and separating it from the rest by adding space, will organize the information and help a reader single it out for reference. Combining fonts to create hierarchy. So combining different typefaces is an effective way to achieve contrast and create a hierarchy in the text. We can compare fonts to actors on a stage. Like a font, each actor has its own personality and role to play. Some are the lead actors and some are supporting actors. A successful play needs both. The font combinations are the designer's decision. If you use a bold font with a lot of personality, it will automatically draw a lot of attention. So it needs to be applied to the text that should stand out the most. All right, so for the prompts, for this assignment, you will design a typographic wedding invitation for a fictitious couple so that you can apply the techniques you have learned to create hierarchy using only words and letters. When designing an invitation, it is very important for it to have a voice and a theme. Choose one of the 4 scenarios below. So number 1 is Tyler and Marianne. They're having an extravagant formal winter wedding at the Plaza Hotel in New York City. Download their detailed information here. So you would click on that to get that text information. Now, when you're thinking about that, it's a very formal wedding, so you want to really keep the typeface to a very classic typeface. You want to make sure it's very simple. So here is the information given for this particular invite. I would not use this information on the invite, so just kind of copy and paste selective type on here. So obviously the names. It says invitation copy cannot be altered except to remove unneeded punctuation. So you can copy this part. This is the actual type that you would actually copy and paste. And then it says, feel free to look up the Plaza Hotel in New York City to get a good feel of the setting. So if that's of interest, check that out and see if that's something you would want to go forward with. The second one is Paul and Joan, and they're having a traditional family wedding at their parents' country club in Vermont. You can download their information here. Number 3, Carlos and Olivia. They're having a destination wedding with a relaxed ceremony in the Caribbean. You can download their information there. And then you have final number 4, Sean and Harley. They have planned a casual summer wedding on a ranch in Montana. You can download and their detailed information here. So you can, take a look at all of these. If you're having a hard time trying to figure it out, take a look at the information that's given there and then make up your mind. You might even look up some styles of wedding invites and kind of pair it up with, the style that you like that would best fit for whichever scenario that you would like. So assignment instructions, you're going to use InDesign or Illustrator, and you're going to follow the listed specifications. So make sure the size is correct. So it's going to be the A7 enclosure, which is 4.75 inches by 6.75 portrait or landscape, but it's only one-sided, so the orientation is up to you. Only type can be used, no images, graphics, or clip art. So that kind of, there you go, explains the question, or answers your question there, Christina. No clip art. Use the 5 listed techniques to create hierarchy in the text. Use the combination of 2 fonts, font styles to create emphasis. Simple lines, borders, or simple decorative elements available in the font can be used. Be careful not to decorate too much. Good typography should be center stage. All right, include a monogram for the couple using 2 to 4 letters. See week 3 course media for information on monograms. Color is allowed, but use it with care and purpose. Choose the CMYK setting when setting up your document, and then you're going to save the native file in PDF version. Remember, this is a typography class. Therefore, the most important aspect of your invitation is the typography. I highly recommend sketching ideas using what you learned in your research for your week's discussion. Have fun, but remember that communicating the information to the guest is your first responsibility. Submission instructions, you're going to submit a PDF of the file, make sure it's named correctly. And then you have some benchmark examples again here to take a look at. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. Here's the first one. There's sticky notes in here from the instructor who gave some extra feedback here. You kind of have a good idea of what an A student would provide as far as the examples. So that is for Carlos and Olivia. And then this one is for Sean and Harley. Kind of an interesting way to do the type down here is, part of the elements. It's almost like aesthetics, just like the monogram is. So those are 2 examples there. All right. So what I would do first, before even doing the discussion, is go ahead and take a look at all of these, the information given here. And then, go online, go and look at Pinterest, look up, if there's something, and I just wrote in here, wedding invitations monogram. Look at these examples. If anything pops out to you that you think would work, like for instance, this would work probably for the first New York example because it's very classic. Very simple. It looks conservative because of how the type is, treatment of type is very classic and simple. Excuse me. These have a more elegant, romantic feel to them because it's more of a calligraphy font. So they all have, excuse me guys, sorry, different personality based on the typeface that you choose. Let's look up wedding, beach wedding. Maybe there's some different ones that come up here. You know, obviously some of these have images on them, but you can kind of check out how they look without the images too. So first things first, I would definitely go ahead and check out examples. Get a good idea of the direction that you want to go, and then obviously go from there. All right, any questions so far about any of this besides using clip art? So can't use clip art, can't use any imagery. It's strictly type. But you can use the type wisely, maybe as your aesthetic. No questions? All right. So I'm gonna do Carlos and Olivia just for this demo here. So I'm gonna open up the Word file for this one. And what I would copy is the name here first, copy, and then paste it into my InDesign file. And then I would also copy this. I can look up this resort, or I'm sorry, this is a fictitious resort, but I can look up the Mondays Bay and Anguilla to get a good feel of the environment. So just do like a Google image search for that. If you're unfamiliar with kind of the look and feel of that place, which is kind of important to do if you're, looking for maybe colors and style. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit copy for this first part of the text. Actually, I'm just gonna do all copy, and then I can delete what I don't use in my InDesign file here. Now, I already created my document, but for those of you who need to, obviously when you start, you go File, New. And I'm going to do a vertical. You can do horizontal if you want. Your orientation is up to you. But this is where you should have the inches selected. And since I'm going portrait, it's 4.4 3/4 by 6 3/4. I'm going to change it to CMYK when I'm done here, so we're going to change that. Now, my margins, you can change that if you want to go up to layout, margins, and columns. You can make it smaller, bigger. I'm going to click on this little link to make them all the same, because right now the bottom was a little bit bigger. I'm going to make them just a little smaller, so 0.375 is a good margin space for this. My bleed's set up here. And I'm going to save this as assignment 3, first and last name. I'm going to take my type tool and I'm going to go ahead and just draw out a box here. I'm going to do Command F for paste. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get rid of the type that doesn't need to be in there. Okay, looks good. All right. I did my research and I really like some of the examples that I saw. Let's see if I can bring this up here. That have a looser, almost like more organic typeface. Kind of like this maybe, but maybe a little more or less elegant, I guess, for the main font. Where did it go? I just lost it here. Let me go back to that example I just clicked on. So maybe in the discussion, if you know the direction that you're going to go, I think I clicked on this one, you might want to pull those examples to show in your discussion. This is actually really pretty too. Very elegant. So what I did is I actually went on a free font site and I looked up some wedding fonts. This just happens to be 1001fonts.com, and I just looked up wedding fonts. And I kind of downloaded, I think it was this one, I Love Glitter, and then this one. You can definitely go through here. You can actually put their name. So let me see here. Carlos, right here. You can actually put their name or their initials in here and hit return, and you can see that font and that name and kind of go through and see kind of what you like. But I downloaded this one and this one very quickly, and not Scriptine, I already have that. This I Love Glitter is what I downloaded too. I thought those were, you know, pretty casual yet cute, trendy fonts that I could use. All right, so let me go back to InDesign here. And I downloaded those, so you might need to do the same. I'm going to do a select all, so Command A, and let me pull my panels in here so you can see what I'm doing. Okay. All right. So I'm going to do select all, and then I'm going to go to paragraph. I'm going to choose centered, just because I like that whole centered look of it being, you know, balanced. I like that whole look. I think it works well for this. All right, now I'm going to play around with this because, let me pull this down here. You know, obviously you need a monogram, and the monogram is basically a couple letters. Either you could do like the letters of the name, so you could do last name letters or first and last names. You could do like CM and OL, for instance. So I'm going to type in a new type box their initials here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it bigger in the point size. You could do all caps or all lowercase, kind of play around with it. And then I'm going to, after I downloaded that font, I'm going to go ahead and choose that font in my character box here. What you could do too is you could try lowercase to see what it looks like. So that's lowercase. You could just try maybe just instead of the first and last name initial, maybe you could do last name only. You know, his last name and her last name, if you want something more simple. Sometimes it's first names only, initials too. Play around with it and see what you think. You know, you could put a plus sign in the middle too. You don't have to do like the ampersands. So kind of play around with it. You can do other very simple design work to this. You could put like a circle around this, the shape, for instance. You know, maybe it's just something very simple. I'm not sure if I would actually do this, but I just want to show you as an example. Bring up your stroke panel box. You can give it a variated stroke since the copy is variated. So let's go ahead and stroke styles. We can also play around with this too. Let me see. There's a tool in Illustrator, and I don't think it's in here, called the width tool that you can actually play around with. I don't think it's here though. No. And what's nice about it, gives you kind of like a variated stroke to kind of pull out one end to be bigger than the other. It's kind of cool. Gives you variations of width. Now, styles, let's see here. Stroke should give you a variated stroke here. Now, obviously it gives you wavy and all that good stuff, but it should give you a variation of stroke. Thick and thick. Not really giving me that option. I'll have to check out how to do that here. Oh, okay. You know what? Let me pull properties in here. There's a way you can do this so that you can change the variation of your width. Let me try to figure this out. Kind of in Illustrator mode here. Traditional feather. Let me see. It's gonna drive me nuts. I will figure this out here. Corner options. I guess just for like yeah, that's just for like a square. Yeah, I have to figure this out. I'm not quite sure exactly how to do this in InDesign. For some reason, I just always do it in Illustrator, so I'll have to just take a look at that. But I wonder if I can do this. Let me see real quick here. My alignment tool. It's not gonna let me do that. Let's see. Shear tool. Transform tool. Yeah, it's not gonna let me pull one side like in Illustrator. In Illustrator, you're able to maybe like make this side a little smaller using the width tool. It's a great tool to use. It's not gonna let me do this here, but I will check that out to see if I could do that. But you can add circles, you can add lines to this if it makes sense. You could even do something like this. So, you know, obviously you're not adding clip art or anything, but it's, you know, they're very simple elements that you can add in here. So like, for instance, if you just wanted to do, you know, a very simple circle and then make your type white. Oops, not that way. You can kind of do something like that. You can even make maybe the ampersands larger than the letters. Play around with that. And then the letters can be centered by adjusting in the character palette your, let's see here now. Let's see, I need options here. Hold on one second. Up your character palette panel. Give you more options here. The baseline I can change so that they're more centered where the ampersands is. So right here where it says baseline shift, you would just go up with the arrow, and then, you know, obviously I forget which one I did here. 10, let's do 12. You do the same here. So it just brings it up so that this is kind of in the middle. Let's do regular. 16. Put more spacing in, like tracking. Tracking is right here, so you can kind of track it a little bit. Oh, not that. Sorry, that's not tracking. Tracking is above there. Sorry about that. So it gives a little bit more space between what I actually hit was distortion button there. So there's some really cool things that you can do. You can even put the plus sign there. You can even step this out. So maybe M is the first letter that you want to put in there, and then let me delete that here. I'm just going to do kind of drag a copy of that M into N. Make this really big. There's just a lot of different ways that you can do this. And kind of like play around with the positioning of this. Oops. This at? You know, make it work for what it is. But I just wanted to show you some things that to kind of play around with. Excuse me, guys. Let me go back. All right, and cough in there. All right, so you can, do pretty simple things, or you can add your elements in there. All right, the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to give this a very simple font, but something that obviously will work for an imitation. I'm going to give it a title, Perpetual Titling MT. Sorry, guys. It's a nice title font, although I'm going to take down the point size to maybe 9 points and 14-point leading. Let me get some water here, guys. Sorry about that. All right. Oh, I love having a cold. Cold that won't go away. All right, so now I have this nice title font that really goes well with this. It's a very sophisticated, easy to read typeface, but it's so different than monogram typeface that it really kind of makes it pop. Yes, I need to do that for sure. Sometimes just talking really kind of gets it going here. Sorry, guys. All right. So I'm going to give the name maybe a little bit more of a higher point size, just to kind of give it a little bit more emphasis. Maybe I'll step back with an 8 points for the typeface. I think that might work really well. And then I'm going to give it a tracking, because I think it's a little crammed as far as the spacing is concerned. So I'm just going to give it maybe like a 20 tracking, because it spaces out the letters. Oh, excuse me, guys. Jeez, coughing and all this stuff is... Okay, no problem. Sorry, all this coughing is making me going crazy here. All right, now read through your copy. You can do this in different ways. You can, change this up a little bit. So what if we broke it here where the name is treated a little differently? Sorry. Maybe this is more bold and smaller. And, maybe this is a little bit bigger, so maybe 14 points. I might have to do a break here in a second and space that a little bit. This is actually a different space here, so I have to adjust this a little bit so it's more equal. I'm just adjusting the leading here, just that space right here. Okay, you know, maybe spacing this out a little bit more, give it a little bit more tracking might be good too. All right, and then maybe adding like a line, simple line here. Hold the shift key down and pull out this line. And I would give it, like if I were to add a line here, I want to give it a real thin line. I don't want it to have too much emphasis. So 0.25 stroke would probably be best, just so it's not front and center. And the first thing that you see is just an added design element. Given for this, sectioning off. All right, the next thing is the with great pleasure, and you can, kind of play around with this. Olivia and Carlos, and you could kind of break it like this. Invite you to join them at the celebration of their marriage. And then put it return after this. I kind of broke this up so it breaks easy. And you can say it out loud. With great pleasure, Olivia Longhorn and Carlos Mendez invite you to join them at the celebration of their marriage. So it breaks nicely as you say it. And then I put an extra space in between that. So right now I'm kind of giving proximity to these different sections here, so that it's easier to read, easier to follow. And at the bottom here, feel free to kind of make this as you want. I know it says, don't change the information too much, but you can really kind of do some interesting things here. Like for instance, let's do Saturday, March. So we'll just do, and this is the 7th. So remember it's 7th. And I think what I'm going to do here actually is I'm going to create my own type box that's separate of this, so I have a little easier time to play around with this. Excuse me. So I'm going to copy Saturday, I'm going to paste it here, and then I'm going to copy April, and I'm going to paste it underneath Saturday, and I'm going to do a right alignment. Okay. I'm going to just alt drag this so it has, a copy of that. And instead of the Saturday in April here, I'm going to put the time. So 2017 at 6:30. So 6:30. Now, I don't know if I'd actually type out 6:30 or actually put 6:30. Let's do 6:30. That sounds better. And then the date here. Now this says 2017. I would just put 2019 just so it's like current. And then I would do a left justify for this copy. And then I would do a completely different, now this is just the style that I chose. You obviously will do yours differently based on your style. But something I thought that was kind of cool. And then the day here would be 7. And I'm going to center this. Now notice how I dragged the type box so it aligns to the right and left of these two boxes so that it's perfectly centered. And I'm going to make this 7 bigger and maybe bold. Oh, the same typeface as the other stuff too, perpetual. Forgot to change that. Perpetua. Bold. And then I'm going to pull these in just a little bit. And zoom in here. And then I'm going to put two lines that are kind of just going above and beyond the baseline and baseline of the top and the bottom of my copy here. And again, just real thin, 0.25. I'm going to drag a copy of that over here so it's consistent. All right. So let me hide some stuff so you guys can see what's going on here. All right, so that's kind of the start of the date. Now let me see if I have this in the right typeface here. Yep. I can maybe make this bold or just even bigger. Let's try 9. And then tracking, maybe track it out a little bit. All right, so that looks pretty good. So that would take up Saturday, the 7th of April, so I would just take this stuff out and then I would copy, I'm gonna copy this and just delete this out. So you could do other copy boxes if it calls for, you know, setting it up separately in different sections here. Might be easier. So it says Cap Jula Resort Monday, and then the dinner and dancing to follow. So I would definitely have dinner and dancing to follow below this. You could probably put an extra space in between there if you want, or not. Or you could even just set this type out in your type up here. So I'll show you here real quick. Let's do slash. Maybe make it a little bit bigger. And then adjust the leading so you can, obviously it's not squished in there. There we go. All right, and then I would adjust where all of this kind of falls on your layout. So I'm gonna pull this down, just kind of balance it a little bit better. You can kind of group that if you need to and pull this down. So this would probably be closer to the contact information. And then this information would all come down. I'm going to do like a 1/3 type of a layout here. And I would give, see this space here? I would give this same space here in between the date and this information, just so it's consistent. And then maybe center this up here. Now, this is where, you know, the fun comes in of like, I mean, I think that's pretty fun, play around with that too. But as far as color, do you want to change the color, you know, or other elements in here that you want to play around with? Like for instance, you could do, let me do a shape of a rectangle and just give it a stroke of 0.25, a very thin stroke, and maybe do dots. And I know you guys can't see this. I'm gonna hide. We're gonna do like a little preview hide here. Very thin, but you can't really see it real good. If you wanted to see a little bit better, you can probably make the stroke a little thicker. Here's 1 point. You could just do a regular thin line, you know, it's completely up to you. You can even, you know, if you want to, you could probably put stripes in here. Just do like little blocks. Obviously, you would have to pick a color. Let's do like a teal. Like a teal color. something like that. And obviously you'll have to make these align. So go up to your align tool. Let's see, where's my align object? Align. And just make sure that they all are centered. And then I would just make the individual in between ones have an opacity of, actually I'm going to do this. I'm going to give them 30, and I'm going to make these 60. So, you know, maybe instead of doing the dots, you could do just the lines. Keep it simple. Oops. And then I would probably balance this out a little bit better here. Just give it a little bit more space at the bottom if you do that. And then you can play around with the color. I can change the transparency of this. I was gonna make that a little lighter, but I think I'll just leave it as is. And then, you know, obviously you can change the color on certain key type here. You know what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna put this in my swatch colors here. I'm gonna add CMYK. Oh, it's already CMYK, that's good. So I have it in my swatches. So if I go up to my color swatches, it's already in there, and then it'll be easily applied to anything that I want to apply it to. Like for instance, the spot and type, I just select it and then choose that color. You don't have to go all black either. You know, say if you want to use two colors, you could do gray, you know, like a lighter gray. Oh, thank you. So instead of like full black, maybe do like a 75 or an 80. See how that looks like? So it's not fully as harsh as that, you know, black. Or you can even do a new color swatch. We can do like a brown color. So let's pick like a darker brown that maybe you can even tell that it's brown, but you know, has a different look about it too, instead of black. Let's do 100% brown here. There we go. And then you could even put that brown in the background if it works for the layout. So I just did like a, you know, like a, yeah, see, I'm not sure if that's going to work for the background. It would probably work if I had a different color than the teal. It's not really working together. But I like the white contrast. That's nice. So, you know, play around with it. See what you can come up with. You know, you could do simple things like this where, you know, it doesn't have to be you know, a lot of imagery and a lot of aesthetics, but it kind of comes together nicely. Very simple, classic look. You can also do, you know, maybe emphasize their name here a little bit. Keep it the same size, but just make it bold. Do little pops of emphasis in there. And when you're done, just save it and then export it out as a small PDF because I'm going to be looking at it on my computer, so that's fine. And then when you're done, just kind of make sure you open that PDF before you send it off, and it looks good when you're viewing it on your screen. Nothing looks pixelated. See if I can open up my PDF here. There it is. Okay, let me open up my PDF and you guys can see it real quick here. Here we go. There's my PDF. One-sided. This would be for that beach wedding. It has two different typefaces that contrast each other nicely. It's easy to read. I have spacing in between here, different emphasis on sections of my type, and the color works for the overall style. Any questions about that? Pretty fun to play around with. I think you guys will really enjoy this assignment. Yeah. Now you might pick a different scenario where you're going to show more conservative look to it. Maybe it's just a black and white wedding, or the country club wedding, you know, traditional family wedding. What would that look like? A casual summer wedding on a ranch. What would that look like? So you might want to look up just the different styles before you decide on one that you want to do. And I would definitely do that before doing your discussion. I think that's a good way to approach that. All right. You guys don't have any questions? I'm going to take a quick little break here, and then we can go forward with your assessment. Does that sound good? All right. I'll be right back. I'm going to go get some tea. All right. See you guys in a few. Okay, can you guys hear me? All right, let's go ahead and go forward here. Sorry for the long break there. I just had a couple things that I needed to run around. All right, so just a couple of things to be aware of when doing your assignment 3. Don't forget to combine 2 fonts, like I showed you in the demo. Line breaks in logical places, creating hierarchy, 5 techniques. Think about your overall composition. Does it look balanced? Type should be center stage, and then finishing details like small caps, superscript, hanging punctuation should all be kind of, you should be aware of that. Okay, so week 3 assessment, typesetting choices. It is, well, let's go through this. It kind of looks overwhelming, but I think once you get started, it won't be as bad as you think here. So let's go ahead and take a look at this. All right. Now this is just kind of the details of laying out type is what you're going to be doing with this particular assessment. So definitely read through this background. It talks about the details. So it talks about the readability and flow of text. It talks about yes, yeah, exactly. A little bit more detailed than that. Yeah, it talks about serif, sans serif, ascenders, descenders, all the very specific things to keep in mind: size, tracking, leading, alignment choices that you make. So it's your designer choices and how you pay attention to those details. Even talks about punctuation of special characters like N dashes versus M dashes, hyphens, quotation marks, specific special characters to be mindful of. So go ahead and read through this. This is something that like a lot of people don't understand, and something that you obviously are privy to more when you're going through school. I didn't understand this either, the N and M dashes. So kind of keep that in mind. So M and N, the N dashes are basically if you just hit the little dash without holding the shift key down by the plus sign on your keyboard. I think it's shift or alt, it might be. There you go. Yep. And I'll have to test this out here whenever I get into InDesign. And the M dash is longer, and it tells you the proper usage of that. Yep. All right, so I'm going to go to the prompts. You're going to practice your typesetting skills and understanding of the 19 rules of typography found in this week's course media by setting the provided text in a document set as an article with the reader in mind. You're going to download the Word document and with the text to use for this assessment here. So go ahead and click that. I'll show you what this looks like here. Now, did you guys ever hear of Ellen Lupton here? Birth of the User. This is a book that I had to read in my graduate studies. Kind of interesting. If you guys get a chance to read anything about her, yeah, definitely take a look at her kind of perspective of typography. But anyway, this is the type that you're going to be copying. So go ahead and do a select all, which is Command A, and then a Command C, which is copy. I'm going to go back to the details of your assignment here. And now what you're going to do is in InDesign, you're going to create an 8.5 by 11 letter document. The margins are going to be set at 0.5 for your top, left, right, and your bottom is going to be the only different one, so 0.75. You're going to set up for 2 or 3 columns, your choice. You're going to create text boxes to fit in your columns. Copy or import the text from the Word document provided here into the design. Do not include the references. Choose alignment and column width that make for a comfortable read. Set up paragraph styles for body copy, subheadings, and pull quote. Choose an appropriate typeface, style, size, leading, and tracking for your headline, subheadings, body copy, and byline. So that's your choice. Choose a sentence or part for a pull quote. Pull quotes are basically you're pulling out part of a sentence within the article to emphasize, and use contrast techniques to have it stand out in the layout. Add a page number, so you're going to do a folio, and include the name of the publication typography as a footer. You will be graded on how well you address the following typesetting standards: headline font, style, size, kerning, a lot of different things here. Byline, font size, alignment. Body copy, which is font, style, size, leading, alignment. Subheadings, which is font, style, size, and spacing. Paragraph separations, have the subheading in good proximity to its paragraph. Pull quote, font size, leading, size, alignment, and correct marks. Column line length, so appropriate line length for the size of the font. Proper placement of folio and footer, and observation of basic design principles. Use paragraphing, character styles, and InDesign to ensure that you have a consistent treatment of text. Watch out for widows, orphans, excessive hyphenation, and rivers in the text. I can show you all of that too. You're going to save it as your InDesign file. You're going to save the native file. Then you're going to export it as a PDF when you're done. And you're going to submit both native InDesign file and PDF for grading. Benchmark examples are shown here for you guys if you need to see what it is you're going to be doing and how to do so appropriately. This is an example here. This is the first one. So you can kind of take a look at how this particular student created hierarchy and the typeface chosen for each section. That's sample 1, and here's sample 2. Oops, you guys can see that, right? Let's see. There we go. So 2 different ways of showing the pull quote. Very good. Oh yeah, that's my clock. Yeah, I forget you guys can hear all that stuff. Any questions about that so far? It seems like a lot of information, but I think once you do step by step, you guys, it should be easier. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hold on, give me 1 second, you guys. Let me get rid of some of these things here. We got lots of stuff going on here. There we go. I'm going to share my desktop so you guys can see everything. So this is the copy. I'm just going to copy this again. Get rid of that. Lots of stuff to kind of hide here. All right, then I'm going to open up InDesign. And I'm going to go File, New Document. I'm going to just choose 8.5 by 11 here. If you can't see that template before, you just type in 8.5 by 11 inches. The only thing that you need to change in your margins, actually mine's set perfectly. So top margin is half, left margin is ½ inch, bottom is 0.75, and right is ½ inch. Bleed set is fine, looks good, create. I think somebody chatted in here and I missed it. Hold on 1 second. Oh, yeah, it's the old school clock. Gotta love it. All right, so I'm gonna name this first, assessment 3, first last name, desktop. Okay, so my margins are set right. My bottom is a little larger at the bottoms to accommodate my folio. So we're gonna deal with that in a second. So I'm gonna take the type tool, I'm just gonna go ahead and draw a really big type box that goes from the left to the top and right margin, and hit Command F. And that's just going to paste in all that copy that was provided in that Word file. Okay, the next thing I wanted to show you is how to create columns. I showed you how to do this the last time. There's 2 different ways you can handle this. So you can select your one column of type, go up to your object menu button and choose text frame options. And if you hit preview, you can see it before you actually commit to the choice here. But if I switch it to 2 columns, you'll see it go to 2, 3, and so on. So if you wanted to do 3, you can do 3. If you want to do 2, you can do 2. I would not go 1, and that's because the line length is too long. There's too many characters on that line, so it makes it harder to read. So giving it a, that body copy 2 columns or 3 columns is definitely preferred. Now you could do it this way and click OK, or there's another way to do it. Let's say you wanted to do one column a little bit bigger than the other. You can pull this in, this, one box in from the center corner. Go ahead and draw another type box here. Obviously you want a gutter in between because that's a balance of space in between these 2 columns that make it easier to read. So I'd probably put at least this much space in between. Select your first column and see this very small little red box at the very bottom. This is just telling me, hey, you got more copy down here that's not showing because your box isn't big enough. So what are you going to do? It's not ending correctly. So what you got to do is select that little red box, just click right on top of it, and you'll kind of see before you actually click anywhere else, you'll see this little link, and then you'll see kind of copy being shown next to it, and it's just going to tell you, hey, this is where it's going to paste. Wherever you click is where it's going to paste. So because I already created a text box, I'm going to click right inside that text box, and it's going to paste the rest of this information into this column. So these are now linked. So if I were to move this up, for instance, watch how that kind of flows down further. Okay, so that's another way to do it if you didn't want to go. And if you wanted to kind of play around with it, you can always delete this box. You're not deleting the text, you're just deleting the box. Now, if you deleted this box, you're deleting the text. But if the second link box you can delete and go back up here and say, okay, well, maybe I want these to be, more consistent spacing wise, you can do it this way. Okay, the next detail, I just clicked on the wrong thing here. Set up 2 or 3 columns, so it's your choice. Create text boxes to fit your columns. We already pasted in the copy. Do not include the references. Let me go back and see. Did I include the references? Yes, I did. Sorry, guys, I'm kind of flipping through here. So just delete this one, this very last paragraph here. That's the references. All right. Working through this here. Okay, choose alignment and column width that make for a comfortable read. I got that set. Set up paragraph styles for body copy, subheadings, and pull quote. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to do just that. All right, so I'm going to start with maybe just the body copy. And I'm going to go up to Window and go to Styles. And I'm going to go to Paragraph Style because I want to affect the body copy, not just one word. Now I'm going to click on the top right-hand corner of my panel and choose the new paragraph style. And I'm going to name this body copy. I'm going to choose a body copy, and you can choose whatever you want, what you think is readable. I would definitely do a serif font. I I mean, you don't have to, but not a decorative font. I wouldn't choose decorative or script font. I'm going to do Baskerville. It's a good font for a readable font. I'm going to do 10 points for my size. That's typically a good size to do for body copy. And then leading, usually it's 20% in between the size of point size to your leading. That's a really good size to go with for readability. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is spacing. So indents and spacing. I'm going to do space after, and I'm going to do 0.125. Let's see what that looks like. And click OK. And then how you apply that is you actually have to select your copy and hit copy, body copy. Now, if it's not what you want it to be, you can always double click on it and change it up. Say maybe the spacing is too big. Go ahead and adjust that. Now I think I do have spacing in between here that I have to delete first before that actually, if there's a space in there, obviously it's going to mess up your spacing in here. So I have to delete that out first, go back to indents and spacing. Now they'll be properly spaced very cohesively. All right, I'm also going to make sure that when I go to indents and spacing, that I'm going to align to a grid. That means your baselines will all align. Now, the only problem with this is if it's a certain ratio of leading and point size, it will space it out kind of in a weird way. Let me see some real quick here. See what my guides are set up like. Should baseline grid. No. Okay, let me zoom in real quick here. There we go. So what's happening here is my grid is, my leading is being so spaced out because how my baseline grid is sectioned off at. So I'm just going to go to my preferences and units, increments, grids. So I'm going to take grids and I'm going to change this. So this is a little smaller. Yeah, because I have a smaller typeface. Let me see if this adjusts it a little bit better. There we go. So let me do that again because I think I need to. So go into your preferences, units, I'm sorry, not units, in grids. If that is spaced out too much based on your point size, you're going to want to downsize your increment and threshold. So let's try 8 points. That kind of works. And that kind of makes it a little bit better as far as aligning it to your grid. There we go. All right. It is a really nice font. Baskerville is a very classic, very easy to read typeface. All right, so now what we have to do is the headline. Okay, so I'm going to do a new paragraph for this. And I'm going to choose, let's see, characters. I'm going to choose something different here. This is where you can get a little bit more creative with the headline because it's only, one word or 2 words, not as many words, I should say. And so you can kind of do a little bit more of a different typeface for this that might be harder to read as a body copy typeface. Let's Rockwell regular. Oops. Let me bring up my character. Maybe better here. How I lose that behind my chat area. What did I choose here? Let me try something different. It's nice because you can actually see the typeface in that font if you do it this way. Let's do this one because it's really kind of neutral. I guess bigger. And I'm adjusting the leading here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up to paragraph style, new paragraph style, and I'm going to name this headline. And it's going to save everything that I just did. I can definitely, I need to go down to spacings, indents and spacings, and make sure our line grid is set to none. And that just makes sure it's not messing up your baseline. Character color, you can definitely change this to a color if you want. And as long as you're selecting it here, that's what you're setting it there as far as the style goes. Byline, this should be different too. So let's go ahead and change this. Let's do the same typeface, only smaller. And so we're going to go ahead and do a new paragraph style. We're going to name this byline. Character formats, everything looks good. Indents and spacing, I'm going to do none. Character color, we're going to do a 70% black for that. And then choose that in here. Now I might need to adjust maybe like the leading. So if I need to do that, just double click back onto your byline and then go to your character format here and give it a little bit more space in between there so it's not so crammed. Looks pretty good. Okay, so now let me go back and see what else we have to pay attention to. Subheadings and pull quote. Okay, so the pull quote, you're just going to pull out something that's a short sentence in your document that you think is important to pull out, and and kind of highlight so that maybe the reader sees that and it pulls them into the article to read it. I didn't actually read this, so I have to read this here for a second, and I'm going to sneeze. So give me 1 second here. Okay. Let's see. What can I pull out here? Maybe something like this might be kind of cool. I'm going to copy just this part and then take my own little copy box here and I'm going to paste it in there. Now, I'm going to set this in the same type as I set my headline in. Oh, okay. There you go. Read my mind. I'm going to make it slightly bigger than the byline. Let's do auto. So let's do 21 maybe. And you could do this in various ways too. Obviously you want to put the quotes in there and I'll show you how to change that here in a second. There we go. You can put it in another box. I just want to show you some things that you can kind of play around with. I would have to do the end of the book on mine. Okay. Now, I'm going to set this as a style first before I pull it into my information here, and I'll show you why. So I'm going to go ahead and do new style, and I'm going to type pull quote. And I'm going to go to indents and spacing because right now I can see that it's aligned to my grid. So I'm going to go to none, and hopefully that'll change it. Then character color, let's choose like maybe a gray again. Maybe we'll do a 70 gray for this as well. Pull quote is selected, and now we have the pull quote here. Now the reason why I wanted to do that is because I didn't want it to align to the baseline, or else you'll have issues getting it in here. Now there's several things that you can do. You can put the copy over top and have it the same width as your copy here, and then just put a text wrap on it. So you would just go up to text wrap under window, and once the panel comes up, you're going to choose that wraparound bounding box. And that's going to give you a way to control the clear space above, below, left, and right of your box. So if you make this, increase this, you can see how that space gets bumped down so that you can see, that the space is getting bigger here and here. Maybe not necessarily, you don't need it on the left and the right. So that's something that you can control here. If you hit the unlink, you can set your left and your right back to 0. So it's not really bumping those areas out because you don't really need to affect those. It's just the top and the bottom in this instance, if you did something like that. Now, if you were, and I'm going to go back to this, if you were to put it in the middle, of course you'd want the left and the right to be bumped out here. Just make sure, if you're doing a 3-column, you might not want to do something like this, because in a 3-column grid, and I'll show you, it changes to 3 columns. Look how it kind of makes it a little harder to read. It's actually not that bad. I thought I was going to make these really short, but yeah, it probably would work a little bit better with oh, another thing I want to do is maybe do like a center alignment here. So I'm going to go back to my pull quote, and I'm going to go into my alignment options. You don't have to do center. It's just something that I kind of want to do. And then I go to my paragraph rules. Oh, not paragraph rules. Right here in my indents and spacing, I want to go to center. There we go. You can also put a box behind here. Now, the only tricky thing with the box, you kind of have to be careful of this. Something that you might kind of learn after the fact is, and I know I've done this too, let's put a black box back here. If you do, actually, let's do a 10% gray box. If you do a box and you bring the type over top of the box and you do the type first and then you place it on top of the box and you don't put a text wrap on it, you might have issues. See how this is not going around this part? So what you're going to do is you're going to have to do a text wrap on that. But look what happens when I hit a text wrap. It's actually affecting my type box too here. So what you're going to have to do is group this together first. So do a shift select of your text box with your box, group it, object group or Command G, and then do a text wrap all together. And that's how you would eliminate that issue. Okay? I've had that happen to me before, and it's kind of a pain in the butt. I wanted to show you guys that real quick. I love the text wrap, that's right. Let's see, what else do we have to do here? This is obviously some of my copies not shown, so I have to fix that in a second here. Choose an appropriate typeface style, landing and tracking for your headline subheads. So yeah, I kind of created that. Choose a sentence for a pull quote, did that. Add a folio. So we have to add a folio, a page number, which includes the publication name, which is typography as the footer. You guys know how to create page numbers in here? I'm gonna group this here 1 second. Oh, I gotta do subheads too. I forgot about that. Let me go ahead and do that. You can also do like a, you could do indents. If you do space after, I wouldn't do indents just because it's kind of redundant. Actually, what I'm going to do here is let me double click body cap. I'm going to put a little bit more space in between these. Go ahead and do some, just a little bit more spacing in between. I have some room. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create, so it puts a little bit more space in there. I'm going to create my subheads now. So I'm going to select that subhead. I'm going to go ahead and do a new paragraph style. I'm going to make this the subhead. I'm going to go to make this that B-ball, whatever that is, and 12 points, 14-point leading. Then I want to go to my indents and spacing and make sure it's none. Set to none. That's key with your spacing here. So I'm going to go to subhead. And then there's another thing I need to change. So let me double click back on subhead. I forgot to show you guys. I'm going to make this a little bit bigger too. I'm going to do auto here. Space after is what I want to take out. So indents and spacing, we want to take out the spacing after. So it's set at 0. There we go. And you can make these like red if you want to kind of go back and change the color to kind of, make it pop a little bit. So go ahead and do your subheads. That's it there. Let me go back and change my spacing just a little bit smaller now because it looks like I'm losing some copy here. Pull it up just a little bit more. Okay, okay, so I'm going to show you something really interesting. You should never have one line of a paragraph starting with one line of type on the last column. That is a no-no. That is considered an orphan. This is considered a widow. You don't want those either, okay? So we have to kind of fix that. There's different things that you can do, like you can kind of play around with I wouldn't do that. I would probably play around with more of like the pull quote, or see how I'm kind of moving this around and it's kind of shifting it. Yeah. If you play around with the spacing, that's when you kind of get the inconsistency of spacing. As far as the soft return, as far as the widow, yes, but not the orphan. So what she means by that is, if I were to go up here and I wanted to fix this, I can do a shift return here and a shift return here, and see how it's kind of fixing that orphan. So the shift returns in there is kind of what helps. So look at the rag, the river. So the river is the space in between here. Your what is that called? Columns, and this is your. I'm driving me crazy here. Gutter. It's your gutter. So when you look through here, how does the river look? And the river means obviously it gets wider in some places and smaller. If you see a really big section and really odd spacing, that's when you need to fix it. I don't see. I see some hyphens that I can fix in here. If you have the hyphen selected in your preferences, that could also fix it, kind of controls the hyphens. Now I still have some copy that's hidden under here that I need to fix too. So I'm going to go ahead and fix my spacing here, and then we'll kind of bump everything up. Now I have to be careful because look what happened up here. When I do that, everything kind of shifts. So I might want to bump this down a little bit. Let's see what we got here. Or bump it up. There we go. That works better. No, it's not so. Well, I think what I would do here is maybe just fix the tracking, the kerning. So I would probably maybe pull it in just a little bit. You really don't want to go more than 5, -5 sometimes, but sometimes the font, this looks like it's going to go up to 10 to make sure it doesn't look too crammed. Sometimes it's not too bad. Or we're going to say you could kind of bump it out too. Let me see what else I can do here because I don't like the way that that's going. Maybe have it down here or over here. That kind of works. So you can kind of play around with it. See how I'm kind of playing around with this. Some other things I'd have to fix though. I know I gotta plug my Mac in. I usually do. I'm just like really sucking my battery today, I guess. Give me 1 second. Let me do that real quick so I don't lose you guys. Yeah, I think that's definitely the issue there. Okay, I'm plugged in now. We're safe. The only other thing I need to do, besides a couple of the little hyphen areas here, is the folio. Don't lose me. I know we're kind of getting to that time here. Actually, let me pull this down a little bit, right to that baseline. We're good to go. Make sure this is centered too here. They're gonna drive me crazy. Do a shift return. Get rid of this here real quick. There's space in between there. There we go. Okay. You can also make, like the quotes here too. Let's see, quotes, smart quotes. Hyphens. Okay, so if you go up to type with the quotes and you go to insert special characters, you want to go to quotation marks and you want to double left quotation mark here. Okay, so just make sure that that is set as special character. This is where you'd find M and N dash too, just so you know. Yeah, and that's straight. So this is the ones that you want. If you want to make those bigger, like more emphasized, sometimes that people do that in for pull quotes. Just do it as a separate pull quote. Make it bigger. Like a separate type box, sorry. And place that in there like this. The only thing is it has you'd have to group it together because it has a text wrap on it. So let's take the text wrap off and then I'll just arrange it in there. Actually, I'll just copy and paste this in here. Go up to type, insert special characters, quotation marks, right you want. And then just do a shift select group and then text wrap. I probably have to adjust the spacing there, but you get the idea. You can do that too. All right, the folio, let's get to that information here. So let me hide this so you guys can see at least what this looks like so far. The folio and page number is something that you need to do a little different, and that's why the space down here is a little bit bigger. So you have room for that down here, your margin space. So go ahead and do a separate type box. I would have it so it aligns with your left and right margins. So go ahead and draw all the way out to align here. And we're going to do a new copy style, paragraph style, and we're going to name this folio. And we're going to have this as a Baskerville as well. We're going to have it smaller, so maybe like a 9-point, and maybe bold. And then maybe what we'll do is all caps for this one. Also, maybe a different color. So maybe this one is red, or you can even do the gray, like the 70% gray. Play around with that, click OK. Now what we're going to do is put the page number in. Now the page number, actually let me select alignment too. Oops. Folio. Hold on one second, guys. We want left align. Why isn't going left align folio? Huh. Interesting. We want no alignment to grid and left align. That's probably what's causing it. No? Interesting. Let me see real quick here. Okay. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's based on, we'll do no paragraph style. That's probably what's going on there. Huh. It doesn't have a text wrap on it. I'm trying to figure out why that's going to the left there. Left alignment. That's really weird. Oh, you know why? Because of this guy right here. So this is another kind of thing to keep in mind. If you do have a text wrap, watch what happens when I bring this back up. It's affecting my box down here. So that's what's going on. All right, so I was doing everything right. It was just my text wrap was messing it up. All right, so I just pulled that up so it won't affect that. I'll kind of try to rearrange that. All right, so now I have my folio selected, but I want to delete that. I want to put my page number in. So what I want to do is go up to type, insert special character, and then I want to go to markers and current page number. So current page number will be based on your master page. Now this is something that you can't do in Illustrator, so hopefully you're doing your assessment in InDesign. So current page number, and what's going to happen is it's going to change it to the current page number that your master is changed to. Now it should be, let's see here, where's my master? It's my pages. So see how my master page is 1? It's going to show you in 1. Now typically what you do is you set this up in a master page. So your master page is shown in your pages. You would just double click on your master page. So let's go ahead and do that. This is kind of the way to do it. Let me delete this. go back to your master page. So double click on that master page, and then go ahead and take your type tool, draw out your type box. This is the proper way to do it. Go up to type, insert special character, markers, current page number, and it's going to type an A. Now this A is going to be whatever font, whatever page number will be set. If you have multiple pages, it'll set to whatever that page number is once you go back to your regular page. I'm going to choose Folio to set it at my style that I want. And then I want to make sure I have typography, maybe on this side, right aligned. So I'm going to put a space. I'm going to type typography. And then I'm going to select just that. Actually, I'm going to copy that just all together. So select all. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to double click on my folio again, my style guide, style sheet. And I'm going to hit tabs. And I want to right tab. So I want to right justified tab. So I'm going to click on that right arrow. And I'm going to set it right on this margin here. So watch what happens when I click with that. Over here, it's going to set it right. I don't know if you guys can see this. Set it all the way to that corner. And you can adjust this once you're done. I'm going to set it right here, maybe 7.5. Click OK. So then I'm going to take my cursor and put it right in between the A and the T. I'm going to hit tab. And it's going to take it right to that 7.5 tab right there. So you have the letter A, which will be your number once we save this, in typography. I'm going to pull this down a little bit from the margin. Just going to click on my arrow tool just to bring it down just a little bit. Then I'm going to hit Command Save, and then double click. I'm going to go from my master page to my regular page. So I'm going to double click and watch what happens. It sets my number to the number of the page set in my pages. So if I were to add another page, for example, let me add another page down here. If I were to grab a master page and drag it down below here, watch what happens. It changes it to page 2. You see that? Based on that page number. So that's the proper way to do pages. Kind of was showing you the wrong way at first. Okay, so the only thing you can't do, if you wanted to change anything in there, you can't change it in this regular page. You have to go, see how I'm clicking on it? It's not really doing anything. Oops, the bottom folio. I actually have to double click on my master page. That's how I can change it. And then save it and go back. Now you can add like a rule line above that too. Just go back to your master page, click right onto your select all, and then double click on your folio. And you can put a rule on top, which is a line that kind of separates the copy from your folio. So let's go to paragraph rules, and then we'll do rule above. And we'll do like a thinner roll, so 0.5. And we'll do a 70% black and click OK. Now the only thing is it's going to kind of put it right underneath your baseline. So let's double click back into Folio. We need to change that. I forgot. Rules. Go back to rules. And see where it says offset right here? I'm going to pull this to the side so I can see it actually working. I'm going to go increase that offset so it kind of goes above the actual copy. So I increased it to like 0.1875 at the offset. And then you'll see that line, the roll line, appear there. I'm going to save it, and I'm going to go back to your page number. You don't have to put that in there. It's just a suggestion if you want to kind of play around with it. All right, and when you're done, just go ahead and save it. If everything looks good, you want to save it, and obviously you want to export it out as a PDF. So you want to go to your PDF setting. Yeah, exactly. And just save it as the smallest file size. And just make sure you open it up and it looks good. You're checking out your rag. Everything looks evenly spaced. You know, everything's set perfectly. And then I would go and check out, oops, hold on guys, PDF here. Double click on your PDF, take a look at that, make sure it looks good. Everything looks good, so then you would send your PDF, I think it's your PDF, both PDF and InDesign for grading. That way I can kind of look at your style sheets, see if you set it up correctly. You know, I'm not looking at a flat file in the PDF version. Any questions about that? Okay. Let's see here. We're kind of a little bit over time here, which kind of gets away from me here, but just a couple things to be aware of when doing your assessment 3. Be aware of the headline and the hierarchy of everything. You want to make sure the headline pops and everything else is secondary. Pull quote options, so the background box, text frame options I showed you. Text wrap I showed you with buffer space, that's the clear space. Watch the line lengths. Make sure there's enough color contrast. Finishing details, just be careful of hyphens and quotation marks. I showed you how to change those. And obviously paragraph styles are recommended. I didn't use any character styles. I just didn't, you know, obviously it was just one page, so the character styles really didn't need to be applied. But you know, if you want to, that's fine. If you want to emphasize one word and you just want to practice and add a character style, that's fine. All right, so let me know if you have any questions. Hopefully I, you know, did those demos clear enough for you guys to get started and know how to approach the projects. It's just, you know, kind of sitting down and really getting into your work. I will be here on Wednesday, same time. So if you need extra help, feedback, I will be in there for the multi-session. All right. No other questions? We're all good? Gradient colors. Yes, you can use gradient colors. Yep. Good question. You just can't use clip art or imagery or anything like that. But you can use shapes like I showed you and play around with colors and gradients. Just make it appropriate for, you know, whoever you're designing it for. Yeah. And have fun with it. You know, really look at I think looking at other work really helps. Can it, you know, push your work further too. Yeah. And who knows, you might be selling your own invite someday. All right, guys. Well, thanks for coming in and joining me. Sorry about all the muting here for, you know, because I am sick. I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me. There you go. Good. All right. Well, you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Happy April Fool's Day. Go ahead and trick somebody today. Just not me. I am human. All right, guys. You guys have a wonderful day, and maybe I'll see you on Wednesday. If not, I'll see you on the discussion boards. Have a great day, guys. All right.